Hello everybody, welcome back. A little bit different project right away this morning on Monday. I did get a call today that the lime's going to get spread. The last load is coming sometime today. That'll put about 95 ton there on the ground, I think. And then the spreaders are coming today at some point, which hopefully they don't get stuck. They buried one across the road here last year when they spread that one, and they're going back on that one again because it didn't. We didn't spread enough, I guess. The soil samples still call for a pH adjustment, so we're going to get that taken care of. And then right now, I am about to tackle my truck. About a week and a half ago, it started sputtering a little bit, running rough. I kept driving it because it was right after a big rain. This truck has an issue, and from what I found and what people have told me online, I need to get a new windshield put in because that'll get new gaskets and everything. And somewhere my windshield is funneling water down, and it's ending up either in my ECU or in some other somewhere in my fuse panel or something, because I have electrical gremlins with this truck. You turn it off and stuff will start coming back on. Usually it's within 24 hours of a rainstorm afterwards, and you drive it enough and the issue goes away, so the water evaporates out from somewhere is what I'm guessing. But right now, because it is still running rough after a week or so of driving it, I am gonna do some coil pack replacements. And my plan was, because there's also another electrical gremlin, and I don't know if they're correlated or not, but my ECU will not throw a misfire code. This thing was there was a point in time where this thing was flat out dying from misfiring, and the ECU would not throw a code, It got $1,500 worth of stuff thrown at it at the mechanic because we didn't know what we were messing with, and honestly, we didn't really have time to mess with it because we were in the middle of summer. And I mean, everything. They replaced the fuel pump up to the front. They hooked it up to the smoke machine. Turned out my intake gaskets were leaking, and we did do that job once on Dad's old truck before. That wouldn't have been terrible to do, but we had them do that. Put a new intake manifold on, I believe, and then it was still running bad. And I mean, you push the pedal down and it just pop, 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 and it would die. And so then, since there was no misfire codes, didn't even dawn on us, but they ended up starting to diagnose coil packs, just unplugging and finding which one it was, and they found a bad coil pack. So that was this one, that yellow one right there. The rest of them are black, cheap ones. But now that it's running rough, or just, it's really fluttery, and we're gonna replace them. But I was doing the whole unplugging and plugging back in, and I had 3 of them that I could unplug and the engine not change on and not start missing worse. So I decided we're just gonna go through and put the rest of the 7 in today, and that way we don't have to worry about it. Hopefully that fixes the issue, and we can get back to driving this. So here's what a coil pack looks like. I really can't explain to you exactly what this does. It regulates spark to the spark plug. Your spark plug clips on down on this end. So that went down in the motor like that. And you got 1 bolt, take it out, 1 plug. Some of these will get tricky. We got to work around some stuff, especially as we get back into the back, but they shouldn't be too bad. So with that one out, we'll check out a new one. Those yellow ones that the mechanic put in, those ones are more expensive. They are a higher end coil pack, but because this truck has 270,000 miles on it, and I really don't know if this engine's going to give out tomorrow, we do cheap ones. It was like $160 to get all 7, so I'm guessing you'd be looking at $180 if you needed to do all 8. We've done this before where we've just replaced them all on a truck. We had a truck, it's actually one that just went to scrap with Dad's truck. That one we did all 8 at once because it was running kind of like this one was, and we were about to use it full-time as a snowplow truck, so we went ahead and did them all. And I think we did spark plugs too. Oh, that's another thing, this got all new spark plugs when they did that intake manifold So that was another one. This is a good truck, so I'm not hesitant about doing any of this, and we weren't hesitant about putting all that money and work into it. I think that was last year. And so it, like I said, it has 270,000 miles on it, but it's the easiest miles a truck could ever have on its life. It's just, this thing was basically a highway truck before we bought it. We bought it with 235,000 miles on it, and we bought this truck when I was 17, I think. This was bought specifically so that I'd have a daily driver, company truck, and so I've put the rest of those miles on from 235,000 to somewhere in the neighborhood of 260 to 270 because the odometer is not working. For 2 years now I've had spotty odometer and speedometer, and I've replaced sensors and all that, and I can't find it. I'm thinking it's somewhere in the ABS module, but like with my electrical gremlins, I'm not interested in putting a ton of money into this truck. So yeah, there's places where you draw the line. Well, Dad showed up when I had 2 in and said I should be putting dielectric grease on them as I'm putting them back in. So he was already running uptown to get hydraulic oil for this project. Somebody dropped their skid steer off as a hydraulic leak, and we got to diagnose it and fix that. But he's grabbing me dielectric grease because we don't have any for some odd reason. So we're gonna go back now, and I guess, and work on the planter while we wait. Try and get that tidied up and finished up. So here's what I got: 3 rows done. We had a lime delivery. They dropped the last load, so I was talking to him. This is what these are gonna look like. We got row 1, 2, and 3, and what is technically our low rate, but it's the high rate tube, is on the left. So right now that's the only tube I have open because we plan on planting beans. That's going to use just the 1 tube, because technically for high rate on corn we'll be opening both tubes. So then you just go along and open the right tube, and then you can see I got all the filters set up like that. That's going to be how it's set up but Dad just pulled in, so we're going to jump back over to the truck and work on that. We've got all 4 new ones in on this left side. So now we'll move over there. We've got 3 to do on that side. The front one's done, of course. That one's the easy one, and that one's not one I get to do. We'll see if we need to take the air stack off, but we'll most likely be able to work around it. I remember a long time ago when we watched YouTube videos on how to do this, there was guys that made you remove the fuel rail and all of that stuff. You do not need to do that. You unplug it, pop the bolt out. That's a 7 mil head, and then the coil pack will go right around that fuel rail. You're gonna pack the inside of the new one. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. You're gonna pack that whole cavity with dielectric grease, as well as run a bead down each of these spots. Or that's what Dad told me to do, so that's what I'm doing. And then you stick it right back down in. You gotta give her a good push, and then you can put the bolts on. Now I'm finding that most of my old ones have no resistance coming out whatsoever, and that's telling me that most likely I am not getting a good connection to my spark plugs, and that is probably why I have multiple giving me fits, but I don't have like major issues with my truck not working right. So that's what I'm talking about. You got a coil pack, everything's packed, and you got a bunch of beads on there. So we're working our way out from the very back on this side, and this side's a little easier to get to. It doesn't go as far back on the engine, I think. I was just dropping a flash drive in the telehandler there for the lime guys, and was walking back to the shop, and I don't know when this happened, but just in the time this was sitting here, this tire just completely cut loose. I was hoping to milk that for another year. It just had the cord showing. I was hoping to get another year's out of it, but we're gonna have to drag the spare out of the barn. We got one still on a rim. That spreader came with 5 wheels, and we'll have to switch that out, I guess, before we go spreading manure. All right, now we got those 4 in on that side. I need to check my oil because it's been a second. Oh, we're good, we're full. This truck had a rear main seal leak, and we did what a lot of mechanics tell you not to do and put some of that sealed stuff in it and into the oil. And it worked really well, actually. This truck's been going for a couple years now since then, and we haven't had much of a leak at all. So we're gonna start this up, see if she still misses. Sounds good now. Take it for a spin, see how she sounds when you're accelerating, but it sounds like it's taken care of. It was sputtering a little bit at an idle too, so chances are we fixed it. Now we've got the back row tidied up. I put this one a little farther back here instead of down there because I didn't want it in the line of any drips or nothing, so hopefully that's all right. We were able to put the strainer in a nice spot, I think. And then these ones are tighter up in here. There's not a lot of options for mounting stuff in this area because of the whole pop-up tank being here, but we've got everything set up and strainers kind of routed in a good spot. So I've got 6 more of these to go. Dad needs this moved out of the way, so I'm hoping to get that done before he needs to move it because he's getting to the drill. Got a neighbor who needs a horse pasture seeded, and so we're gonna go do it with the grain drill today, I think, today or tomorrow. So it is 12:15. Dad is pulling the 4960 around. We're gonna get it hooked on this planter. He's gonna pull it out. I got 3 rows left. I got the other back 3 done. We just gotta do the wing, the other wing. So those 3 are mounted here. Gonna pull it out, help him get the drill hooked up, and then we will probably after that finish the planter and then get some lunch. That sounds like a good plan. They're making a dent on that pile over there. They got 1 floater here right now. They're running our side of the company that's doing it. They've got an east and a west. Our side runs the old Millers. The other side gets the brand new John Deeres because they get a lot bigger, nicer acres than this side. We're all chopped up little fields, so they run the old Millers. They got a decent ROI then. They've got 1 here right now. The other one's coming later. But this guy will be about burnt through most of it by the time the second one gets here, I think. If I had a choice, I would tell them not to spread today. But because of the fact that they are a custom outfit, you got to spread when you got to spread. It's just too windy for lime, I think. I am sure it is getting on the field, but you're also losing a lot of lime to drift, just like a sprayer. So when we have our own spreader in the future, a couple years down the road, I would be a little more nitpicky about when spreading gets done. I just shut the tractor off. We'll just leave it out here and finish up these last 3 rows. Dad's not gonna go down right away. He's gotta go down about 2 o'clock. So I've got a little bit. Ooh, I'm glad that stayed there. Not that it went far, but we'll knock this out real quick. This will take 5-10 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next thing. This will just sit out here. Actually, I'm thinking, because the plan changed literally yesterday while I was sitting in church and thinking about how we should handle this, because I want to do beans, but I think it is better off for us to focus on getting the hay seedings in first, and then we'll switch over and plant beans. So this actually needs to go in the back of the barn so that the drill can come out later. So we will back this back in at some point today before Dad gets back with the drill. And just like that, those 3 are done. So in theory, the planter is now ready to go to the field. Whenever we are ready, the planter is ready. So, pretty excited now. We'll get some lunch now and then move on to the next project. That guy's spreading across the road there now. You can kind of see. It's kind of a side hill. He's on the third field back now. He's about done. It looks like he's got a load, maybe 2 left. I'm gonna back this planter in, get it unhooked, get the tractor brought back around and hook back on the spreader, I think. And then we got some power washing we gotta get done. It's always weird when you get to wear short sleeves in the spring, because typically you're wearing a sweatshirt all the way up through planting season. So. Lime pile is gone. He is still spreading back there. You see that cloud of smoke forming? Not smoke, dust. I'm just buttoning up a few shop projects here. There's a skid steer tire that went flat. Finished putting that back together. While I can watch him, when he's done, I'm gonna offer him a ride if he needs it. I don't know where he's got to go next. He's got his pickup truck here parked out back, so if he needs a ride, I'll give it to him, and then after that, we'll get going on the power washing. So we're gonna start with power washing this ditch bank mower off. This has been sitting here for a hot minute, but this is going to the auction on the next run, so we're gonna get the mildew all power washed off of it. It's pretty clean, so it's not going to take long. After that, we got to do the sprayer, which is going to be a little more intensive. We want to make sure we get all the spots, since it just came off of a 28 job. That nitrogen will eat that machine and turn it into a pile of rust, so we want to make sure we get everything done there. Got that quick power washed up. There should be a chain still on it. Yep. So I will hook this with skid steer, put it on, throw it on the gooseneck for now, and we'll get it to the auction yard. So I'm able to back the sprayer up and unfold. We leave our tips folded up. They'll be alright. I do gotta fix up a light. This boom went in the dirt pretty hard. Went down into a rut and it dropped faster than I could raise it, and we bent some things. Nothing serious, but take care of that while it's reachable. We'll wash the whole unit. We're not gonna get crazy because it's gonna get dirty again. So we'll just make her look decent. And the main reason we're doing it is to get any of what could be nitrogen on the booms. I haven't touched. It's dried out. When you get done foliaring, the boom's really sticky from the sugar. So that's probably not a bad reason to wash it as well. Now, because we are washing this, we will end up re-greasing all of the boom components next time the sprayer comes out of the shop, or I may even do it now while I have the sprayer out. So sprayer out, and then that way it'll be ready to go next. Next thing's looking like some burn down, get these fields that are going to hay killed off as soon as we can get on them, so that we can start turning them over and fitting them up. And that'll be a cocktail, because we are not just doing a regular burn down. You guys know me, I like my complicated mixes. So it's not gonna be Roundup 240. I don't think I can use 240, that'll disrupt the alfalfa, but it'll be Roundup, and it'll be boron, sugar, and a surfactant, I think. So we are also going to break out the soap, the Pro Line truck and tractor wash. This stuff works good. It's a no scrub, so I can feel a little more confident if I get this blasted in somewhere, it'll probably clean still. So we're gonna fill this thing up. I usually run it at a 75% solution to 25% water, so we'll get that mixed so that we can get going. I didn't end up going crazy with it. I'm having issues with this thing. Putting foam out, it's gonna have to get taken completely apart and cleaned up, I think. So we've got the booms done. and I just went around and cleaned the outers of all the rims because they were pretty muddy. So you can see, mostly clean. I need to pick up some glass cleaner because glass ain't super clean on this. It's not terrible, but clean the windows would be nice. While it's out here and unfolded, I'm gonna grease the points that are out here, and then we will get back folded and do all the greasing that goes on the back. I also need to bring the hand grease gun over and do the wheel seals because I did them when I started. That back one on this side was it was weeping a little bit the first day I sprayed, and I haven't noticed it too bad since. So since that's kind of worked its way out, I'm gonna give another pump of grease in each one. I was told by an AGCO rep when the year we bought it, kind of going through maintenance stuff, and he said you use a hand grease gun, not an electric one, and you do one pump every day. So I don't do it every day because that sprayer doesn't get used sun up to sundown like the expectations are, with that being a commercial ex-commercial machine. So I do it like once a week usually, because I'm typically only out spraying 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a day, if that sometimes, and not every day of the week. So I stretch it out a little bit. And now she's all cleaned up, greased up. I'm gonna put her back in the barn. Till next time. We're gonna do a quick tidy up from wheat foliar. We are going to unhook the pump from this tote. We're gonna set that tote off to the side somewhere out of the way. We're gonna dump what's left in this tote into this tote and stick that tote back over here in the barn. I'd like to have these two totes somewhere else. These are herbicide, the rest is fertilizer, so if I could make it to where those two would not get mixed up with the rest of them, that would be great. I don't really have a great place yet. Yeah, because I can't have anything in this immediate area here because of the feed grinder having to come out. I could stick it down there in the barn and just take the gamble that the roof won't fall on it. I'm sure that's fine. It's only like $3,500 worth of Roundup. This is 28%. That's got to get stashed somewhere out of the way. And then we can do something with this guardrail. This is a little short stubby piece and it's all bent up. We'll probably dump it in the scrap truck. Bring our second jug cage over. That's why I was saying get rid of the guardrail, so that we can bring the second cage, and then we should be all set for whatever's next, which, like I said, I think is going to be herbicide work. We're not going to be doing any more fertilizer until planting. I'm looking for a way to distribute power. This battery goes in the barn here, and because I started wiring my lights, which is probably the next thing on the list to work on, is I have my wireless transmitter for the lights. The battery was going to sit right here, and someday I was maybe going to build a mount on the wall for it, but for now it was going to sit there on the barrel. And so what I need is a way to distribute power. I was looking at getting a small junction box and putting on the wall, and then, or on the outside of the barn, which isn't completely finished yet. Putting it somewhere on the outside of the wall and running a main into it, and then branching off of that with a distribution strip and running a power out to here, to the edge of the pallet racking, or onto that post probably is most likely the best spot, so that we can run any shuttle pumps that are on here. Running one over here probably onto that post for that shuttle pump, or any other ones we may eventually have over here to run. We also need to get this shuttle pump put on the sugar tote out here so that that's ready, because from here on out we are most likely pumping sugar into this cone. Pretty much what I planned on is anything that I'm spraying that has a crop underneath it, excluding the burn down for the hay, is going to have sugar and boron. I don't plan on using sugar and boron in any pre-emerge passes, which the only ones we're really going to have are our cover crop termination and our burn down on the corn. So we're for the most part, it's gonna be every load except for the couple loads there. But we will need a hose or a pump on that here shortly for doing that burn down for the hay. So we will put that on there, and then we will need to put that boron tote onto the rack as well and put that hose on. I'm really surprised. I just got the poll results back from Farmers Keeper on what % sold a lot of farmers are. And corn guys are average of 30 or 29% sold, which is about where we're at. And then beans are about the same, which is completely off from where we are. We're about 90% sold on soybeans. I can't believe more guys aren't pricing, because if you can't make money with beans where they're at, sorry, but you're probably doing something wrong, because $11 beans is dang good beans. I know everybody wants to see 12, and emotionally, everybody should see 12 because of where we were 3 years ago, but I hate to say it, guys, but it ain't 3 years ago. And I know we're dealing with higher inputs and all that, but still, my whiteboard says $11 beans is doable, so. But I guess everybody, to each their own, I guess. I got to call and contract some wheat. We can lock some wheat in just over $6 for 2027. So I got to call and get some of that locked in. Now that I know canola is not going to steal from my fall cereal acres, I can go ahead and lock in. That was the biggest thing I was waiting on, was figuring out whether the canola was going to go on some of the soybean stubble or not. I had the 318/18 tote from the first foliar pass of wheat that I hadn't drained the excess out on yet either, so we're draining that. Look how much we got in there. We're gonna have like 50 gallons in that tote. Gonna be able to plant 25 acres of beans just on what we've drained out of the bottom of these totes. We'll probably just pull that boron tote, put it on the rack there, put this in there somewhere, and we'll just leave the Roundup and Gramoxone tote for now. And put this little tote in there as well. Call it good. I would be lying if I said having that boron tank up there makes me nervous, or doesn't make me nervous. I would be lying if I said that doesn't make me nervous. That's a lot of weight. I guess it's made for it. It's pallet racking. We didn't have any issues with the two bottom ones, so I don't see why the top one wouldn't hold 1 when this one holds 2. I guess it's gonna be fine. I've got this hose to put on there so we can gravity feed it. So I'll put this on. I'm gonna need 2 hands. I just gotta put those 2 away. Bring my tote cage back. There we go, that's all set. We're ready to get on to the next phase of application. So we'll get this door closed back up and we will leave this for another day. I think that's where we're gonna end this one though. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Just a typical Monday. Getting a bunch of different stuff done, bouncing all over the place. And I'll check, see if the parts for the disc binder are on the porch. If so, that's what we'll be working on tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.